again. Yes, it's me, Wart, back again to bring you more amazing knowledge about the world beneath your feet. Every creature needs to eat. And moles, well, we really do need to eat. About 2/3 of our own body weight every day. And our food is found in our very own kingdom below the ground. It can be said that worms feed the world, as without them, a lot of living things would go hungry. Especially us moles, as we love a nice, juicy worm. Without worms, there would be no soil. They may choose to live in the dirt, but it's the worms that make the soil what it is. They are nature's compost bins. They munch their way through the fallen leaves and the grass, and after digesting it, pass it out as, yeah, you guessed it, poo. The worms come to the surface to breed and move over ground to find new areas. They will poo on the surface, you can see it, and you give it a fancy name, a worm cast. I find it odd that you humans encourage worms by digging in all your organic waste, such as vegetation waste, even animal poo. You humans do have a thing about, well, poo. You even go to special shops and buy it in bags to spread over the ground. You even buy worm poo to put on the soil. Not everyone likes a worm. When the worms start leaving poo all over the special grass, you know, the special grass, the short grass where they play with those small white balls, or insist on it being in stripes or lines, some people then do everything possible to get rid of the worms. Worm casts are full of the special nutrients needed to enrich the soil and promote plants and everything else that grows in the soil to grow. So, you see, worms do, in fact, feed the world. Moles like nothing more than a big, juicy worm. So let me tell you something about the wriggly earthworm. Worms can be found in most places, but they don't like the ground when it's really waterlogged, as this will reduce the amount of oxygen they can find. Everything needs to breathe. There are many different species of worms, but my favourite is the earthworm, and there are even different species of earthworm. If you pick up an earthworm, you will feel the skin is moist, as they mustn't dry out. And you will find different earthworms in different places. Some live in compost heaps, and I don't like those. They taste yucky. But there are many others we can find. Some live in the shallow layer of soil, just on or under the organic layer. That's the grass, or leaf mulch to you. These are the litter dwellers, and what you call epigeic. You do love giving things funny names. Living under these worms are the endogeic worms. These are shallow dwellers. Endogeic earthworms make horizontal burrows through the soil and move around and can be found in the upper layers of the soil. These are the topsoil or subsoil layers. One species of earthworm is the nightcrawler. Your funny name for it is the ansic earthworm. These worms dig a deep vertical shaft where they hide but come up to the surface at night to feed on the leaves and other vegetation they can find. Hence we call them the night crawlers. They are really fat, big, juicy worms. They pull the leaves down into the shaft and eat it, and you can see if they are below the ground if you find extra poo or worm casts on the surface. These will have all the waste in them, including any rubbish they find in the shaft, like stones. They stick all their rubbish together with their poo to form a pile, and you have another funny name for these. You call them middens. Eating a worm isn't easy. We don't eat the heads or the tails. That's the bottom. The head contains the bad bits, its mouth, and what you call the postonium. Also, 5 hearts. These are not really hearts, but pumps, so work like a heart. The earthworm breathes through its skin, so these pumps are needed to push the oxygenated blood around the body. Then comes the crop, where they store food before it passes to the gizzard to be ground down and then digested. When we find a worm, we'll give it a quick bite to the head, just to slow it down a bit, or they tend to wriggle about and escape. If we're hungry, we'll bite the head off. Okay, not nice, but as you know, they aren't the best bits to eat. Then we need to squeeze the worm into our forelimbs. This will wipe any dirt off the skin. Don't want to eat the dirt. And it also squeezes all the poo down and out of its bottom. We'll chew and rip the worm to eat the middle bit. That's the best bit, and leave the heads and tails, which you may find in a molehill when we clean out the tunnels. You once called moles insectivores because we feed upon insects as well as worms. But now you humans have given us another new name, Uli Pottifleur. When we're looking for food in the tunnels, we often come across other soil-dwelling bugs and grubs. There are lots of creatures that can be found in the ground, and yep, some are just as scrummy as worms, especially those yummy beetles. Oh, and larvae. These are like maggots, and many of these larvae will eat the roots of the plants and vegetables. Have you ever seen a cut worm? And when I say cut worms, I don't mean cut worms as in cut into teeny weeny bits. I love a good cutworm. The cutworm is not a real worm. It's the name given to the caterpillar of some moths. They lurk in the soil and chew the plants just under the surface of the soil. We moles find them. We can plough through the soil and find and eat them. So actually, we protect your plants and the food you grow. But many people may disagree with that, and under the grass lurks another favourite treat. Leather jackets. It's the presence of these sources of food that will be the reason for moles to be found digging in the fields, paddocks, and of course your garden. So let me enlighten you on some of the insects we enjoy munching upon. You may know that there are thousands of different insects living in the countryside and towns. And one of my favourites is a good, crunchy ground beetle. Ground beetles have many different types. Actually, there are more types of ground beetles than there are birds. And some ground beetles are predators of earthworms, especially the larger ground beetles of the Carabidae family, and rove beetles in the family Staphylindae, such as the devil's coach horse. A strange name for a beetle, that. But anything that will eat our juicy earthworms, well, it has to go, especially when they taste good too. There may be hundreds of beetles we can eat, but as I said, cutworms and leather jackets are always on our menu. Cutworms, the caterpillar stage of moths, are found in most gardens. You may have found one when digging in the soil. They will curl up and not move. Cutworms are quite big, 40 millimeters in length, and as they are dull brown or green with dark lines or spots, and are often difficult to see. Leather jackets are the pupae stage of cranefly. You may know these as daddy long legs. They are a grub that lurks under the grass, eating roots, and are a welcome feast to moles when they emerge in the autumn. Their emergence depends upon the weather, but when they do, we can tunnel just below the surface and find them. Food is really important to us moles, and at various times of the year, finding it can be harder than normal. Wintertime may seem obvious when the ground becomes hard from the cold, but actually, summer can be just as difficult to obtain enough to survive. Dry, hard ground presents the same problems. Food may not always be available, but you humans often come to our rescue with your overuse of water. Lawns get watered, and best of all is the veggie patch. As well as digging in lots of poo, you shower the area with water in every way possible. This will encourage worms, yummy, but also many other species of insects that will munch on your vegetables, like wireworms. These are the larvae of the click beetle, and wireworms like nothing better than to chew their way through potatoes. But don't worry, as moles can eat these too. We also like carrot fly larvae. These small maggot-like grubs tunnel their way into the carrots and will also eat parsnips and celery. We find them, and it's these bugs, grubs and worms we find in and around the veg patch that can be the difference between life and death, especially in the young moles. The young moles will, during the summer, be looking for anywhere they can find food, as they will by then have left mum and be out in the big wide world on their own. Moles will not and cannot dig for no reward. We burn lots of energy digging our tunnels. When you see molehills on the surface, think why they may be there. If they are in a group, it's because the mole is creating a kitchen, an area where the conditions are perfect for the food to be found. Or is the mole just digging under the surface? By understanding the different types of food that the moles eat and where the tunnels are, you can identify the reasons for a mole to be in that location. Creating a complex network of passageways and corridors to find food is every mole's main aim for most of the year. We must exist as a species, so are required to make exceptions for, well, just a small part of the year. I will get round to explaining this to you. You already know that we cannot fly, so we tunnel everywhere and basically have two uses for the tunnels we create. To get from one place to the other, safely, and to obtain the scrummy food we can find. Moles all around the world live underground. Yes, I know it's hard to believe, but there are other types as well you call species of moles. But as I am the only species here in the United Kingdom, I will only explain all about little me. Wart, or my special name, Talpa europea. Although you rarely see us, we are listed in the top most common mammals in the country. Which questions, how do you know? There are lots of us. When we dig, you see a lot of our deposited waste on the surface, or, as you keep reminding us, are called molehills. Some may think that the more molehills you see, the more moles there will be. Thankfully not. Us moles, well, we don't really like each other. So all the piles of soil you see will probably be the work of just one little mole. I say little, as actually we aren't as big as many believe. All that dirt you see is the work of a creature that can sit in the palm of your hands. So, how do we do it? Us moles are extremely strong as we have very powerful shoulders and arms. At the end of our arms are purpose-built gardening tools in the form of 6 fingers, 5 of which are equipped with sharp, tough nails that we can use to tear away the soil. The 6th finger, the sesamoid bone, just before each thumb, widens the palm and makes a great shovel. Our broad shoulders may hold a lot of power and strength, but the amount of muscles limit the movement, which restricts us to only a small amount of reach. This actually determines the size of the tunnels we make, as we can only move our forelimbs a short distance. Our forelimbs, or front feet when in the forward position, will be in line with our snout. That's our nose. This limits the space we have to work. We have to overcome this problem by turning our head to one side. This allows a better area to dig on the other side. Then, by turning our head to that side, we'll create the same working area on the opposite side. The movement we use is called lateral thrust. We begin by bracing ourselves with one forelimb and our rear feet. Then we bring the other forelimb across and twist so the palm is facing out away from our face. We can thrust the limb out, tearing at the ground, repeating the movement rips away the soil. We can then repeat with the other forelimb and create a tunnel. It's that simple. You can see from that restricted movement in our upper body that the size or diameter of the tunnel will be the same size as we are. So if you look into our tunnels, you can see just how small we really are. This is how we construct the normal tunnels in soil. But when we are moving around just under the surface of the soil or under the grass, maybe on the lookout for some tasty cutworms or leather jackets, we will create a shallow tunnel. We do this simply by lying on our side and using the same lateral thrust to push up the soil or the grass, turning the prized lawn into what looks like a badly fitted carpet. I told you that we create tunnels to find the food or to move to different locations. Many of the tunnels we use will have been there for many years, maybe hundreds of years, and we reuse existing tunnels. It's less work to clean out the old tunnels than create a new one. We use the tunnels much like you do when we get around. You use roads built before you and keep using them, and, just like us, add new roads to get to different places. It's hard work to burrow everywhere, so we find the easy routes, and these are found under the areas of natural drip. Okay, you ask, what is natural drip? Well, it's anywhere that the rain and dew will fall from. So under all your fences, hedges and walls will be an area of natural drip. As the rain and dew drip down after a period of time, a certain distance down and a certain distance out, the moisture content in the soil will be perfect to maintain a tunnel. We can build a tunnel by compacting the soil, so often you will not see a molehill, but the tunnel's still there. These are our main tunnels to move around. We are there, running around beneath your feet. And you never knew.